out and
Right.
reset that
sleeve.
that sleeve.
What a process.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everything matched up, right to the T. You know just who did anything on that jacket, whether they set the lining in, whether they set the pocket, whether they set the collar, or whatever.
Mm.
And you trace it right back. Then it go back down, and then the girls would grab those coats again, check them out again. And if everything's fine, they pull the tickets off the sleeves, button it up, and there's a girl there that puts the plastic bag over them and sizes them out because they know just what size. Because when the examiners get it, like I said, there's still a ticket there, and there's a ticket. There's colors for the sizes. Red was 8, green was 10, white was 12, blue was 16,
Right.
gray was 14.
Right.
Wow.
And, yeah, so you know just what size.
Remembering.
So when you're examining, then you go to button that coat. You took what we call tags. They would put the lot number again and what size it was, and the manufacturer, our national garment tag on that to know that it came from this factory here and all that. And we would put Character Suburban Wear's
Right.
tag on there also, who we made them for, and they'd be on there
And get ready to ship.
and be shipped.
And then after work, at night, that's when the ship, so this parking lot here would be filled with
Yeah, there
tractor
was
trailers.
a door off here on the side, right here on the center. The trailers would come in back right into here. Tri-State they were called.
Tri-State Trucking.
Tri-State Trucking, garment trucking, and that's all they did was transport garment and such.
And where
they-
did these garments go?
Into New York.
Into New York. All
Right.
of them into New York?
Yeah,
Okay.
we went all into New York. We worked for a company called Character Suburban Wear,
Okay.
and they were at 237, I think, West 37th Street,
Which was the garment district. in New
which is
York.
the garment there where
And they sold most, like a lot of our coats were like in a J.C. Penney, Strawbridge's carrier,
yeah,
like, back then there was
and
Strawbridge and
yeah,
Clothes
there was
Dealers.
Strawbridge Clothes was big, J.C. Penney, Sears, there was Learner Shops. There was another big company back then that they went into. But
Montgomery Ward, any of those? that are
yeah,
out
went
there?
into those, but J.C. Penney was we supplied J.C. Penney with most of our garments and all.
So how long did the factory last? What,
To
what year-
1983, right?
So
83 or 85?
85.
So how many
1985.
years did you work here?
I worked here, I guess, from 65 to 85, about 20 years.
Okay. Oh.
20 years.
What happened? What was the people outsourcing? Is it?
Well, overseas, you could start as the international, right, globalization of the economy. So now it's the import. So now coat could be made overseas. You can remember, workers here in the United States were unionized workers, and they were also piece workers. So you know how he's talking about these tickets?
Right,
They didn't
I was
get
gonna
paid
ask
like
that.
$10 an
Yeah,
hour.
it's
They
per-
got paid per piece. So the
Right.
faster you were on the machines, the more money you made. But
True,
even still,
but you never could go below minimum wage. though.
right? No, you
Which
never
was
went.
what at the time? Do you
Uh,
remember?
Now you'd have to go back. I
Yeah.
mean, back in the, you're talking
Yeah.
back in the
Well,
you know,
back
the 70s, the
70s,
80s. I
we were
mean,
really busy in the 60s, 70s, and the early 80s. We were
Right.
busy as could be.
so whatever, but you can never go below minimum wage.
Yeah.
But most of the time you were making more.
Oh,
because
yeah, you were making more.
You know, you were doing
Well,
piecework.
let me give you an example. I don't know what year now, but this goes back, I was saying, to the more toward, yeah, I guess to the late 70s. We were going into J.C. Penney with blazers. I'd never forget when what's his name came down and all side. That and yeah, Korea. Yeah, in Korea, they were making blazers also now for J.C. Penney. See, the clothing industry was one of the first to get hit with imports. Now everybody's starting to feel it, but back then the only industry that got hit and nobody was really paying attention, so to speak, or really didn't care as such, was the garment industry. Now what took place when they first, in all fairness to the imports, when they first started importing them, the workmanship was shabby as could be. They were terrible. But as time goes on,
They get better.
they got a little better, and what happened, got pretty decent. But their pay never got any better overseas. they were making the same blazer we were making here, J.C. Penney, coming in from Korea. Material and labor and everything, full blazer with the material, send into Secaucus, New Jersey. That's where J.C. Penney has a big warehouse and what have you. Less than our labor cost,
Wow.
without counting the material or anything.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So of course then
So
JC
then
Penney all these
after
times
that-
starts
yeah.
saying, well,
That-
why
that's
are we
it.
getting
Why
things
would
made
we
in
do
the
that?
United
Yeah.
States? We'll get them made overseas,
Yeah.
and then that's what just killed the whole garment industry, and
Yeah,
that's what
and-
happened here in Hampton at the beginning of the '80s. You just start seeing the domino effects of the factories
Well, sure.
around here
In
because everything's being
Hamilton,
made.
where the gymnasium is here in the back, the health club, that was a clothing factory.
Yeah,
That
they
was
were-
Pino there. I
Breast-
forget. No. Crown, was it Crown Pants? Crown
Crown
Pants.
Pants,
Yeah, Pino, making men's pants and what have you. Put him out of business. They crossed the street, across the railroad. Well, there's nothing there. Well, no. Where that muffler place? There was a bigger building there and all. C&P Coat Company and all that. Out of business. On Washington Street, Washington and Orchard, there was the Aggressive factory there.
Right, which is just abandoned now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they made a beautiful ladies' coat there. They even had a retail store there and all. They came from all over. They were put out of
And
business.
of course you had Hampton Park
You had,
closed.
and Hamilton Park closed. I don't know whether you knew that. There was a big men's factory here in Hamilton on Tilton Street, and that was called Hamilton Park Closed, and that was owned by the Kessler family for years. Put them right out of business, and they
There's
had
suits-
close to 800-900 people working for them.
There's
Yeah.
suits like presidents of the United States used to
Oh,
wear
yeah,
Hampton
come there.
Park
Yeah,
suits.
we
Yeah.
spoke about that.
Johnny Carson and his sidekick, who was it?
Not McNabb, that's the quarterback.
McMahon.
McMahon, yeah, Ed
Would
McMahon.
come here, gets measured up, because now that was more of a
Tailored.
tailored made suit and all that. It wasn't really run through a factory like we did here. Ours was
It's
mainly,
a custom.
right, that was more custom. Well, you had to have some money to buy a Hampton Park suit even back then. They brought big money. They come from all over. They're all out of business. But
Yeah.
I don't, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think there's a shop left here in Hamilton. And way back, and then there was, what's his name, he made pants too and all, Romelo, where St. Joe's Church is.
Right. Oh, yeah, down the street from there. right.
Diagonally across from St. Joe's Grammar School over there, well, it's an empty lot there. There's a good sized factory there at that corner. That's gone. The building's gone. That was Romelo's shop.
So how do you think the clothes today compares to what you guys made?
Well, I would say the quality now it's good, but you can't make them at that price. They're still bringing them from overseas and what have you, and you're not going to compete at that price. You can't pay the wages that you pay here and try to compete. It can't be done. If they can say whatever they want, buy American, this, that, and the other, chances are everything you have on is made overseas. Okay. So how are you going to compete? You can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
And then that kind of killed the way of life here in Hamilton because most of these people here, they were garment workers,
Oh,
you know?
Right.
So, I mean,
Well, sure, we had, in a slow time, we were down to about 170, and when we really got rolling and all, we were bringing the extra help to clean this, that, and the other, we were up to about 190, 195.
I think Mom had said one time you were like almost 350 employees at really the height and stuff. Almost 350 employees. So with the payroll and stuff, like really when you're doing the winter coats and all that. Could be, think about that, all those operators in the second floor and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. We were close to about 300 when we got into gone. Just can't compete.
And what percentage were immigrants?
No, I would say the bulk were all modified citizens.
Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of immigrants. I mean, it came from immigrant families that had immigrated here. I mean, they were,
Right.
most of them were either of Italian or Hispanic descent.
Right.
But they were true United States citizens. They were
Yeah.
born here in the United United
Yeah.
States.
What about your family? When did they come over, or
Well,
where did they come from?
well,
or what?
My family originally did come over, my mother and father did come over from Italy, but that was in 1905.
Mhm.
They came over and all, as teenagers and met here again. But,
My grandmother's parents, they came from Italy.
they came from Italy
But
also.
my grandmother was born in the United
Yeah,
States.
she was born
My
in-
mother was born
yeah.
in the United States, so.
But, and the all the factory workers were mainly, their parents were all.
Italian was the
more
generation
at that time,
before.
yeah, was the generation before, and then we had a lot of Hispanics of Puerto Rican descent. At that time, there was more Puerto Ricans coming over as compared to so-called the Hispanic Mexican.
I think that's because Puerto Rico's a U.S. territory,
Right.
so you
Yeah.
started to see more.
They would come over and they were all U.S. citizens.
Right, right, and then they worked in
Yeah,
the industry too.
Right, they worked into the industry.
Mhm.
The ladies would
Farms.
come, yeah. And the ladies definitely all wanted, they'd rather come in and work in the factory sewing than in those days go back out and pick blueberries or berries or this, that, or the other.
What percentage was the company made of females?
Mm.
Most of the employees were
Oh, yeah,
female.
I would say
Oh,
80%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All the sewers, mainly all the sewers, we only had 2 or 3 men that did any sewing.
Right,
We had a button sewer,
right, Mike.
yeah. We had 1 or 2 on the floor.
Yeah, it was, I would say good 80% of
Yeah.
the employees
Yeah,
were,
right.
were
The cutting
female.
room now,
Was mostly
that
male.
were all males, but there was only about 10, 12 fellows working up there.
Right.
As such.
Right.
And the first floor was
Had the
mainly
pressers.
ladies, but the pressers, we had
Pressers were
7 or 8
men.
pressers as such, maybe more. About 10 pressers, you had them all.
Now remember, the bottom floor of the factory, because of the presses, wasn't air conditioned. So come summertime, here they're working with all these heavy fabrics, because in the summer, you're making winter coats.
Right.
So here they're dealing with
Wool
these
and-
fur
Yeah,
and
right.
wool, and they're working with these presses, so the summertime to work in a factory was hard. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, oh, yeah,
downstairs. Now, the
yeah.
other floors were able to be air conditioned, but
Yeah,
not, you couldn't
yeah,
run a
we
press
air
all day
conditioned.
in
The
the air
second, the
conditioning.
second and third floor were air conditioned.
Mhm.
The first floor, because they were pressing all day, you could never carry,
Yeah.
bring it down. You had fans, you had that kind of stuff, and you had we had, well, all the windows that you could see on the building, they'd all be open on that first floor, and you had
Mhm.
fans and exhaust fans, but it got hot. And a lot of times, in all fairness, the pressers and all that, what they would do, they would work in the morning, maybe work right through lunch, maybe about 1 o'clock, take the afternoon off, and then come back in the evening and work a couple more hours.
Smart.
When it was cooler.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it got hot.
Right.
Did-
Pressing was a tough job.
Yeah, did that affect their pay? Were they paid more, or was that something that it was just a set pay for everybody?
Set pay, yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Male and
such.
female alike?
Well, no.
No, depend on your job function.
Your
You
job
got,
functioning and the skill.
right,
You even got paid, a collar setter got paid a certain price. Now, I don't recall now, so a pocket setter a pocket setter got more than a collar setter, per se, per item, okay?
Mhm.
And the sleeve setter got paid more.
because it required a different skill.
Different
Some were harder to do than
And then the
others.
stitchers got a certain pay also, because that stitching had to be neat on that
Right,
coat
that's
to make it
finishing
look good.
work. Right.
And they got paid maybe a couple pennies more per item.
But you also have to remember at the time too, I think there was more, the employees of the era, it was really all about, helping the employer, like those pressers would be, okay, we'll come in now, we'll do all this, but it's hot, we're gonna take the afternoon off, we'll be back here at 5, Dave. And it was like, okay, there really was more of a sense of everybody's in this
Community.
together,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
even though there's
Yeah.
a lot of people running around, you knew everybody.
Right.
They're all from town, they all lived here in town, basically.
Right.
I would say 90%
Right.
of our workers all lived here in Hamilton.
Right. You never had a strike here, even though they
No,
were,
never, no,
they were
never had
they
a
were part of a
strike.
garment workers union,
Which-
never was a
Do you
strike.
remember which union it was?
Yeah, International
So,
Ladies Garment Workers Union.
Okay.
Yep. They never had a strike here.
No.
So, there just was that sense of, this work
Yeah, it
needs
was
to
a
get done,
different-
we're gonna do
yeah.
what we have to do to get this work done.
And they enjoyed being off in the afternoon there, and they come back for, it all depends on how the temperatures were for the day or the week, or sometimes you
Right.
had a heat spell come in, or sometimes in July and August it got hot,
Mm.
but,
So what would they do? They would just come back, and was
Yeah,
someone
'cause
always
they
in the
lived in
factory?
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Or how
Yeah.
did they, Like, did they,
I'd be back, I let them in, then